I found it quite remarkable when the Indian Prime Minister sat across the table. I'm sure it was not as noticed because, of the ongoing obsession with the American elections, but otherwise the global event, it was very significant, I thought, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi sat across the table day before yesterday, in fact, with Vladimir Putin, and he said to him that, Mr. Putin, I believe there can be no peace on the battlefield, and that solutions to the war can only be found from dialogue. And then he went on to say that India feels the pain, especially when children are killed. We feel pained at this. It is heartbreaking to see innocent children being killed. And he has said that I am looking forward to talking about these things with Vladimir Putin. And this has been followed up by, in Austria, a joint statement from the Austrians and the Indian government saying that we look forward to resolving the situation in Ukraine. So I'm looking at this as a contrast to what's happening with NATO. Am I reading it right, Dr. Joseph? On the one side, the NATO war machine is getting busy to put more into the war. And on the other side, a very significant but solitary effort from the Prime Minister to discuss possibilities of sitting and talking this out. Dr. Joseph, how do you see this?
Okay, well, first, thank you very much for this opportunity to provide a clarifying, let me use that term, clarifying and truth-based counterpoint to the views, at least from what I've heard from one of your guests in the short time I've been here. And I can speak to you and I can answer this from a personal experience in a very clear way from here in Washington during this 75th anniversary NATO summit, because I was personally present last night at a summit-related event when it was not an American official. And so here, let's immediately take on the propaganda view here that has been expressed by at least one of your guests. It was the leading European Union official for foreign policy. That is Josep Borrell. He is their High Commissioner for Foreign and Security Policy. He is basically the foreign minister of the European Union. I was physically present for his speech last night, where we have to remember this is the European Union. The European Union could be a competing organization to NATO. The European Union could be the organization that says, look, we don't want to be dominated by these Americans. We want to have our own independent strategic autonomy. And I am here to tell you and all of your viewers, in contrast to the misleading perspective you've heard from others, that Mr. Borrell, in the name of the European Union, the most prosperous union in the world of international, multinational states, expressed 100% solidarity with NATO, 100% solidarity with Ukraine, who Mr. Borrell, in the name of the European Union, again, this is in Washington, but in the name of the European Union. So let's dismiss all of the nonsense about, oh, this is American war machine and all of this nonsense. This is Mr. Borrell speaking in the name of France, Germany, the Baltic states, Spain. All of these countries expressed clear support for Ukraine and dismissed completely this nonsense that the way to get to peace is by, we cannot, we have to only have dialogue, and this nonsense that the way to get to peace is to somehow bend and capitulate. And he said the contrast. I'm repeating again, not an American official. This is the leading European Union official on foreign policy, restated the threat that Russian aggression poses to Europe. So I say to all of your viewers, this is nonsense. There's perspectives that you're getting, that the European Union is independently, in its own name, 100% aligned with NATO, with the United States. I heard this personally last night. No one can say any different. This is official from the most authoritative level, warning about the dangers of accepting some kind of fake peace. This was Mr. Burrell alluding to
why
this,
would you
about a fake peace that we would get to peace in any other way than showing staunch military support for Ukraine. And everyone knows, none of your viewers, and you, sir, of course, are not naive. Everyone knows the way to peace is not by knuckling under and saying, oh, we can't send more weapons because that's a war machine. Everyone knows, and Mr. Burrell said this, this is not some war machine. The war machine is in Russia, and Mr. Burrell, in the name of the EU, again, in Washington, made it clear this is Russian aggression that is a threat to European security.
Dr. Joseph
made it clear that the European, let me finish because you give all your other guests plenty of time. So it made it clear that the only way to get to peace is not by this fake dialogue, but it is to make it clear to Vladimir Putin, who is a dictator, and of course this individual on your screen is unable to say anything in contrast to what Putin would want, but the only way to peace is by continuing to provide
Dr. Joseph,
Ukraine the weapons it needs to defend itself against Russian aggression. And then second,
may I intervene and ask a follow-up to you?
Because I joined the program, but let me come to Mr. Modi. Let me tell you this, and without all respect to Prime Minister Modi, let's come to this very quickly. First of all, you missed the much more important quote, which was from Prime Minister Modi when he told President Putin in very clear terms, this is not an era for war. That was the most significant remark that Prime Minister Modi, but that's the one to note. And second, I can tell you, unfortunately, no one is paying attention to this visit of Prime Minister Modi in Russia here. It is 100% overshadowed by the 100% solidarity here. You hear no dissension here in Washington, none. In an alliance of 32 different countries, these are sovereign states. These are not twizzling states like Belarus. These are sovereign states that come here, including Hungary, which is friendly to Russia, all
Dr.
coming
Joseph,
here
may I now,
and showing alignment against
all
Russia
states,
with the United States
all states,
and for NATO. Thank you very much.
Dr. Joseph, I heard you entirely. It would only be fair if I allow an intervention on the other side, but the two things I would like to say that I think, this is wrong to define some states as states, others as rentier states, others as quizzling states. All sovereign states are sovereign states,
state.
as all sovereign states are sovereign states. To your very strong assertion on the program that we must have a continued use of weapons and commitment to the war effort, whatever reason, I would like to just, if you allow me, Dr. Joseph, I'll say just one line in response to you, sir. That did not help America in Afghanistan. That did not help America in Vietnam.
This is completely different.
Every time a new justification is provided.
Completely different situation. These are Ukrainians defending and sacrificing themselves. These are Ukrainians trying to express their own sovereignty.
The only thing different is, sir, allow me, sir, the way I would look at it, that the only thing different is that these are people you see as part of the European/Western world.
That's not true.
Unlike Afghanistan and Vietnam.
That's a false and provocative statement. That's not true.
Okay, may I get a response to what you've said?
Ukrainian citizens putting their lives on the line, sacrificing their lives lives for their independence
Okay,
and sovereignty.
I have
and their
limited
own
time.
choice to join the
Dr.
European
Joseph,
Union and not to have anything to do
no,
with neighbor.
I must say, I'm rather enjoying this, this discussion. As a debater, I'm tempted to take it further. I have limited time, so I must give a chance to the view from Tatiana, who patiently has heard you out, and your very strong views. Tatiana, briefly, please, and then we'll...
My views were conveying the European Union's perspective, so kindly she should
Shut up
address
already!
the perspectives of Mr.
Shut the
Burrell.
fuck up, you
not
idiot!
me, but
Let
Mr.
somebody
Burrell.
else talk. Shut up!
Oh, come on. This is funny, though. Come on. This is very amusing. Look, unfortunately, I have to agree with you on one
strikes
thing,
on a
that
child's hospital, and I
nobody
will
in
tell
Washington,
Everyone
who had plenty of time
in
to talk, and
Washington
I
is
don't
paying
use terms
attention
like
to the
shut up,
NATO summit.
but that could be
The only
applied to
thing
you
they're
all. You all have
watching
had plenty of
is
time.
whether Joe
I
Biden
joined this
falls off the
program late.
stage.
There's
Arnab,
nothing
you have to
humorous
shut him up.
That is
about any
Dr.
children's
Peter
conference.
Kuznick from
There's nothing
American
humorous
University
about
who was responding to you, sir.
Nothing humorous about this. So, and I conveyed the points of Mr. Burrell. So you don't need to
I heard
address
your
me.
point.
You can
I heard
address
your
what Mr.
point.
Burrell is saying.
Dr. Joseph, I'd just like you to hear Tatiana's. As a democratic exercise, we hear everyone in terms of equal opportunities. And it's fair we do that, please. Thank you. Please.
Some countries, as you know, Arnab, are more equal than others. And we see a very, very clear example of that right here. But you're really, really completely right. The only reason why the US, and this is just a beautiful example of how, by calling, let's quote unquote, some people on the panel propaganda, you completely dismiss everything that they're saying, because by definition, that is something that is imposed on them. And I could show you the room. There's no person with an AK-47 standing here. Nobody's forcing me to say what I'm saying. There is no red phone. There's nothing. I'm sitting here in my apartment in Moscow, and I'm saying the things that I actually believe in. I grew up in Crimea. I grew up in the part of what you call annexed Ukrainian region. Nobody in my building, nobody in the city that I grew up in, I'm a Muscovite, but we have an apartment there. We used to go there every year. Nobody spoke Ukrainian. I didn't know a single person who knew Ukrainian. And then they were forced to learn it. They were treated terribly by people coming over from Kiev. And I know firsthand that feeling of a second-rate citizen that they had to live with. So you can tell me that, President Putin, who is, whatever you call him, I call him president. I respect the choice of my citizens, the people who live next to me. I voted for him. I actually did vote. He's not telling me what to say. I speak to you from my personal experience. The day Crimea rejoined Russia was the proudest day of my life, because I knew the pain the Crimeans went through for years. And if you want to find out about Ukraine, why don't you watch BBC documentaries from 2014 about right sector, executing people, about people driving tanks over civilians because they didn't want to agree with what was happening in Kiev? Why don't you watch them? You don't believe Russian media.
Okay.
So watch the British ones.
Tatiana, only because of one...
I was just in Ukraine. She asked me a question, so I'm answering. I was just in Ukraine. I was just in Kherson. So I've been in Ukraine, and I saw what Russia has done to Kherson. And I know how vulnerable Russia is and Crimea is should Ukraine succeed in crossing the Dnipro River and controlling the water access to Crimea, and then you'll be singing a different tune. And it is not that you have an AK-47 pointed at you. It is that if you dare to challenge and say something different from what the Kremlin wants, and everyone knows this, and all your viewers know this in India, because people in India are very well informed and very sophisticated. They know you will end up in jail. So that is the point. It's not that someone has an AK-47. That's ridiculous. Misleading tactic. It's that if you speak against your president, you will find yourself very quickly arrested in jail. And you know that that's the case.
Dr.
And
Joseph.
Your viewers and this very sophisticated
Dr.
presenter
Joseph,
also knows that
Dr.
that's
Joseph,
the truth.
Dr. Joseph, Dr. Peter Kuznick, Tatiana Kukareva, and Sushant Sareen. I've totally overshot the time limit. May I be permitted one line at the end, just to wrap up? I do believe, we all believe here in India, we have an interest in peace. we all believe that this will require a multilateral effort. And I think we need to start working towards a multilateral effort, and countries like India should be playing their role in that, instead of being forced to take this side or the other. I thank you very much. I've listened on very keenly, and I respect you all for your very, very divergent views. Thank you very much.